this is the aquarium at Blue City, the Oceanarium, as it says. You're not allowed to take photographs with a flash, but you can do it other than that. It's just basically one corridor like this by the looks of it. Not sure there's anything more around the corner. Maybe there is. Oh, there could be, because there's a nice goby there. Goby One Kenobi. Very nice. That's obviously a marine setup with two tangs here. Tangs for the memory. The thing about a tang is you can see the spikes there by the tail, yeah? So these tangs are called pokolets in Polish. I'm reading off the thing, I didn't know that. The Acanthurus leucosternum, białobrody, so white chins they call it. And this one with a little horn on its head there, you see, like a unicorn. It's also a tang, as you can see. It's also got the two thorns or spikes by the tail. Doesn't say anything. Oh, that's called Naso unicornis. It's not got a name of its own, but there's the little goby again. Marine fish often seem to be very intelligent in that they seem to know when they're being looked at. Here we've got the morays, O tempora, O mores. I'm not saying they should become tempera, but leopard moray. There seems to be any number of them. Difficult to see. We're going to have to count the heads. There's 1, 2. There's a head over there. 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, other than that, you know, they get all twined in each other, and that's a beautiful fish. I don't mind paying 20 zlotys to see something as beautiful as that. One thing you'll notice about the moray eel is it doesn't have any ventral or pectoral fins. So you've just basically got this fin running along the top, which doesn't appear to have any rays in it either. It's just a flattened out part of the body. I'm not sure whether it has rays in it, but they're not visible rays. And it's got quite sharp teeth in the mouth there. Maybe I can have a look at this one a bit more closely. That's got nice coloration on it. So let us have a nice good look in there, are we? Okay, let's see if we can get right up close. Okay. Nice. I would certainly wouldn't say no to having a tang. So far we've seen all truly ocean-going fishes, so it's certainly you get your money's worth if you're watching real marines, because they're not cheap to keep. I've never had a marine aquarium. It's been for something for people that want to put a lot of money into the hobby. I've had always what are these two doing? These are also tangs, as you can see, from the spike near the tail there again. So we can see that in the fish, also the unmistakable shape of the face, yeah. And again, this goby, and a nice ribbon eel here, sashaying off into the distance. This goby appears to have cleaned itself a whole area here of the gravel. Nothing else would do that here other than that. Is that a royal gamma there, Gamma Loreto? Let me see if I can get a focus there. Yes, royal gamma, isn't it? Gamma Loreto. Let's look at the nice eye there, the neon coloured eye. You'll find that on 1 or 2 of the and there's another, which is probably the female, less brightly coloured. Usually in the case of fishes that would be the female. But I do like that little goby down there. I say call it a goby, but it might be an actual gurnard of small sorts. What an Stążkowa. You see it's got all of the fish are nicely labelled, but only in English. If you come here and you're not an English speaker, then you're going to have a slight issue with that. But if you know the The Latin names are given, thankfully, so you can look them up afterwards if you want to take a note, or if you want to check it out as you walk through on Wikipedia. As you see, it's not very crowded. I seem to be the only visitor, which is lovely. You normally go to an aquarium in a zoo and you're pushed out of the way by kids. These are beautiful. Let me pull back a little bit and get the full value of the camera on them, such as it is. Obviously by now you've got much better cameras than this. And some good shrimps down underneath there, or one coming up to it here. The shrimp seems well aware of me being here, by the way. It's giving its back a scratch. It's one of the reasons why I don't hold much with eating shrimps. One thing is, of course, they're not kosher, not that I tend to eat kosher completely, but I tend to be slightly guided by in choices. I don't refuse to eat non-kosher things, but if there's a choice, I prefer the kosher. Obviously, if there's kosher put there for Jews, I let them have a good old go at it first, though, because they've got no choice in the matter. It would be very irritating to go and eat all the Jews' kosher food at an event, and then they're left with nothing else, and then you go ahead and eat your own stuff as well. That would be really out of order. That wouldn't be at all proper behaviour, in my opinion. Anyway, but that's really nice the way they're hanging around underneath that there. Yeah, these clownfish are obviously anemones of one sort. That's one species. They're not really getting a look in at the anemones. I suppose these standard clown anemones are being a bit more, but none of them seem to be all that bothered about going in and out of the anemones. The anemones are doing their thing, the clownfish are doing their thing. Well, there's too many clownfish for the anemones anyway. So they've kind of agreed that none of them are really going to have it, or if they are, they're taking it in turns and giving them a rest occasionally. But these are lovely, aren't they? It's not the first time I've shown that fish on this channel and forgotten its name. It's called a cardinal apogon. And it's also saying down here that you've got sea urchins in this particular tank. But whatever those sea urchins have, wherever they are, I can't see them. Maybe they've not survived. If something dies in a marine tank, you better take it out quick, because it poisons the water, of course, with nitrates. And marine fish are continually drinking in order to osmoregulate. There's a wrasse. It's called Borsuchek. Sorry, Borsuchek. And here's the inevitable. I don't think his eyes are in very good nick, but they are definitely conscious of being looked at, and they don't like it too much. He's gone over to I was having a laugh with my daughter the other day, telling her about a puffer fish I had. Porcupine fish are the same. This one's bold, doesn't mind at all being looked at, and when you follow them, they're aware. Even if you follow them with a lens, they're aware. But unfortunately, they have cataracts, which is such a pity for a fish that really depends on its eyes a lot. They need to put something in the water to clean that up. Yeah, there's a nice fox face, vulpinus or something, as I think they call it in Latin. That's the wrasse. Oh, look at those delicate colours, it's beautiful. It wants to show off to the camera. It's like a nice bird flapping its wings, like an exotic parrot or something. That's a beauty, you're a real beauty, aren't you? Yeah, you know me. Okay, off you go then. And you're back again. Both of you together. 1 and 2. You know precisely when you're being looked at and when you're being ignored. Come and see me again, come on. You've been given some lettuce tied to a stone. Yes. Yeah, the stocking. That's a yellow tang. There's some other ones, small ones there. So yeah, Synganus vulpinus is that. It's not a wrasse. It's closer in relationship to the tanks. This one must be a female because she's a bit egg bound. I don't know what you do in a tropical tank when you get egg bound, but it's not common to have tropical marine fish breeding. Here we've got some porcupine fish or puffer fish, which have got really nice and big and are an awful lot less scared, and they've got no cataracts, and they've got the eye as it should be, and yeah, they are right at the front because somebody's here interested, showing themselves off nicely. That's a very rewarding fish to keep, but you don't keep that. You don't keep any kind of puffer fish really with crustaceans because they will simply eat them. Snails and shells or shrimps or anything like that would just simply break them with their heavy teeth. And the other thing about that family, the Tetradontiforms, is of course their toxin, which is why they're fugu. Basically, they're fugu fish. This isn't the fugu. There's a special pufferfish called Tetradon fugu, but this is one of the fugu family, one of the tetradons. Tetradon for 4 teeth, because that's what they got. I don't know if it's going to show you, but basically it's got the teeth are fused into 4 plates. Very good at cracking open shells. You don't want to put your finger in its mouth, because if it clamps its jaws shut, you'll know all about it. And basically, yeah, very nice. It's got that toxin in most of its internal organs, so it tends to be left alone. But just in case anybody doesn't know, in this particular case, when it blows itself up, as pufferfish tend to do, some of them make a noise. This one has spikes which point out, so basically that's why it gets called the porcupine fish. Unlike a sort of porcupine mammal, it doesn't leave those spines behind, but then if you take it out of the water, it will blow up and those spines will be pointing out in all directions. It's got very pleasant markings on it as well. And as you can see, a fish with lots of character, which should like to keep this or another member of the family of pufferfish, preferably a freshwater pufferfish, but probably not with a lot of other different species. Very bitey towards other fish, and it's also completely capable of destroying any crustaceans that are kept with it, even much bigger ones than itself, because it'll just bite through their shells. So here we go. That's very nice, isn't it? We're getting into triggerfish territory now. Got the lovely markings on the head there. Am I really picking it up on the camera? Perhaps not. That's a nice triggerfish over there too. Exactly what that kind is in there, I'm not quite sure. There's supposed to be a moray here, but I can't see it. But there's lots of triggerfish anyway. Rogatnica. It shows that it's got some rogatniцы. Oh no, rogatnica is supposed to be something else, but never mind. I don't know the Polish common names, but they're supposed to be Monodactylus argenteus in there, or something like that, and it's not in there. Mind you, there's plenty of stock on. There's a small shark. Obviously, it's a black-tipped reef shark, isn't it? But only very, very small. So if you're expecting a big shark here, you're not going to see a big shark, but it's a perfectly acceptable small baby of something which does get big in the end. If they feed it too much, it will get big in these conditions, and they won't really know what to do with it. But there's 2 of them keeping each other company, and yeah, obviously it's the same as a full-size shark, only smaller. Yeah, it's a viable shark. Just it's still very young, probably first year, and not growing on very quickly until the beginning somebody's shaking this about the jaw there. Yeah. And yeah, that was the end of the corridor we came down. And there is more. How much more I'm about to see? But this is now not sea stuff. This is river stuff, which is easier to keep, and therefore I keep river stuff. And it's actually, for me, more interesting, I have to say, because these are things which I could envisage actually keeping, or I've kept. Some of them I've kept anyway, but not necessarily the size that you see in public aquaria. Alligator gar. That's got it's got a head like a crocodile, with lots of sharp teeth. This is a snake head. I've had a small one of them in the past. I advise nobody to try and keep snake heads if they want to have anything but one snake head in their tank. But obviously with big fish they can't necessarily get them. These are large but quite placid cichlids. Yeah, that's supposed to be the red snakehead Channa micropeltis. Here we've got a nice mix. I don't like that parrot cichlid much. It's a bit of a man-made thing. I like Pangasius shark catfish. These are just small ones, in good condition I have to say, nice and fast, but they'll get big in there. This big bruiser here, that's a gourami. The standard gourami is an important food fish in Southeast Asia. These parrots from South America, theoretically from South America, but they don't exist in the wild. What they're doing there with them, well, it's not a very good mix, but never mind. Panga, this is the small version of what you'd eat under the name panga, but I don't advise you to eat it. Well, the way that they're farmed is unclean, yeah. I don't advise you to buy that as a fish, but certainly keep them in the tank, in the aquarium. They've got a voracious appetite, and they also can eat things like up to, well, they can get down their throats things which are quite sizable, and so can this. But gourami is an air breather and can choke on things that are too big for it. But it's an intelligent fish. I like them. Look, it's trying to bite my finger here. You going to bite it? You going to bite that? Have a bite. Take a bite out of that. See? You get interaction out of them. That's what people don't expect from fish. Sometimes they think fish are just thickos, the thickos of the pet world, but it depends what you get. Some species are more intelligent than others. One particularly intelligent one is one of the ones we're looking at now, the ray. Fortunately, these ones have got their tail stumps have been disabled. That one's still got his stinger on. That one hasn't. Maybe they've de-stung it or tried to take the stinger off and it went septic or something, I don't know. But anyway, that's now made safe. It is an intelligent fish. You can see sometimes people in some aquaria, I think I showed this in Hawaii, a stingray that was basically doing tricks, effectively coming up knowing its owner, responding to different stimuli. This is a potamotrigon, and sometimes this comes from the Amazon basin, yeah, but sometimes it's used as a zoogeographical proof that the Amazon used to flow into the Pacific rather than the Atlantic, because it's related to something which is marine fish in the Pacific Ocean. That's what they say. I'm not sure if I'm convinced by that. And this is one kind of bony tongue, by the way, but this is another kind of bony tongue. They're, of course, as well from the Amazon basin, and one of the largest fish that go along in rivers. There's a lungfish down there. There's the African lungfish rather than the Australian one. Oh, and there's a secret extra couple of aquariums down here. Again, they've got the same cichlids in as we had in the first tank. This one's taking an interest. Just a mix here of different cichlids. I think that's a Managensi. And there's another Pangasius species, different species of parent panga. Just bigger, much. This is really the sort of thing that you're going to be getting served up to you in supermarkets. And there's another snakehead, or more snakeheads. Basically, people give the fish that they think they're going to be nice little fish, and they get too big for them to handle. They end up giving them away, and then they end up in places like this for people to look at. That's the lucky ones, of course. The rest get flushed down the toilet. So don't buy them. And that's another one that the red-tailed catfish. A friend of mine, David Sands. If you're watching, David, because now we're friends on Facebook after all these years, that's fantastic. Having lost contact with lots of my friends now, seeing them again on Facebook. He was basically the champion of the red. That's not a red-tailed catfish either. That's that. I know what that is. That's a hybrid. That's a hybrid between the thing you see here and the actual red-tailed catfish. That's a hybrid, isn't it? David, correct me if I'm wrong. You're the expert on red-tailed catfish, but that looks to me like a hybrid between this one here and the actual red-tailed catfish. You can see that the head is halfway between the two. It's a beautiful fish, don't get me wrong, but that's not a natural fish. There's Notopterus chitalis down there. I can recognise it from the spots. African knife fish, beautiful. I love knife fish. I've got one, the clown knife. No, that's a clown knife. I've got a ghost knife fish from South America. But that's the African one, I think, Notopterus. But basically, this is a beautiful fish, but it's not. I think that's a cross between the red-tailed catfish and this catfish, whose name I've forgotten. Maybe it's on the board. It's just called Sumpaskopiski in Polish. But that really shows. It just goes to show completely that the fish here are not from the wild. They're from breeders. In most cases, that have gone through the trade and have outgrown people's tanks and been given away to public aquaria. And there's a very nice, I think that's a Tanganyika tank, isn't it? Lake Tanganyika. All of the, it's nice to see these, and it's perfectly correct that they don't have plants in, because this is not a plant environment. These kind of rocks are correct. And even these slates which have got calcium in, because the calcium content of Lake Tanganyika is very high, so that these even sort of like coral sand like that, which puts your pH up, even to 8 or beyond 8 slightly, will be okay for these fish. They'll like that. And they're not dissimilar to a lot of the coral reef fishes, and they have very complex social structures for fish as well, and you get some very nice, very beautiful patterns on them. It's actually showing me the end of my battery, so let's quickly go to the end. There's some more gars and oscars, and that's a real red-tailed catfish, not a hybrid there. What else have we got? We've got a snapping turtle here. Okay, snapping turtle as well, probably somebody's pet. There's the usual piranhas, red-tailed piranhas. Pygocentris used to be Serrasalmus natureri. Are they getting it right? Just calls it natureri. Doesn't want to enter into any. Oh, and here's some real red-tailed catfish that I told you the other one is a hybrid of. You can perhaps see it now what I mean. What's this at the top here? Oh, another snakehead. Really, people are buying snakeheads and red-tailed catfish, and these are pacu. Once I had a discussion with somebody who was convinced that these were piranhas. Even here, they're getting called piranha pacu. Well, it's a vegetable-eating plant and fish. It's a complete plant eater, and it's the last one. So the fact that I'm losing my battery doesn't really matter. Last tanker in the thing, unless there's one around the corner, which there isn't. But it's a nice. I think I got my money's worth for 20, especially filming, of course. So there you go. Come to it. It's in Blue City in Warsaw. Come to it while it's still on. I don't know how long it's going to be on, but certainly worth it. Pacquiao is a beautiful fish. Let me just give you the whole benefit of that. You'll see it a lot in aquaria. People sometimes keep small ones in tanks. It's an important food fish for the people of the Amazon basin, the indigenous people, if you can call them really indigenous. Obviously in comparison with Pacquiao they're not indigenous to people, but for them anyway it's an important food fish, and I understand it's very tasty, so I never tried it myself and don't intend to, but there it is. Thank you for watching.